last season. We played them 14 times, they won 9, but they've been all close games. Drew said the difference in the teams may be like the willingness to win the games. He said it just hasn't been there lately. Just your thoughts on that's the difference between these two teams.
Yeah, I mean, they're if you look at it statistically, they've been pretty even for sure, and we know hockey can be a game of bounces. You can outplay the other team and not win. That happens a lot. It's the playoffs. I think, this is the time that when you talk about, want or the willingness to do the extra and stuff like that, that's not going to be a question. That just has to be in the game now. And like I said, I know they got us in the regular season, but when we look at it statistically, from our perspective, pretty close. So we're just ready to get after them.
In that same conversation, he was referencing playing with heart and emotion.
Mm-hmm.
How much of a factor do you see that with any team that's in the playoffs? How can heart and grit sometimes overpower the statistic?
Well, I think, each player has his own personality, and then the team has a personality based on the collective. So I think probably what Drew's talking about there is going into this year's playoffs, we really want to challenge ourselves, our emotional level and our level of passion. We want to push ourselves to a higher level. I think if I can understand, the last couple of questions, I think that's probably what Drew's talking about.
This team hasn't played a single game this year with every player available. It feels like you now have all the options at your disposal. How exciting is it to have the team you envisioned heading into game one?
Yeah, that's been a long road. There's no question. So credit to the guys who picked up the slack when we had injuries. But yeah, it's great. I know Carl, got a chance to play a couple games in the American League, played well. Practiced well out there today. It's a different pace, of course. But yeah, we're excited to go to the point. We feel strong. We feel like we've got everybody together. We're strong. Raise our emotional level and let's go.
Is the elephant in the room no unnecessary penalties?
I think that's probably, you get into the playoffs, I'm sure all 16 teams are cognizant and reminding their players of that. And then the game happens, and ultimately penalties are called, penalties are taken. You just don't want to put yourself into a position where those 50-50 calls that can go either way. And it's hard for the referee. They're 50-50 and they're happening fast. You just want to put yourself into less of those opportunities, and a lot of times it's a stick. The referee, he might be forced. So keep it down amongst all the energy and the passion that's going down. Keep your sticks off people.
Jim,
Back to the conversation about that Dennis and Carly mentioned. You played this team a lot over the last couple of years. You said players have their identities, teams have their identities, but coaching staffs do too. Both teams entered this series with a different coaching staff than last year. Does that have an impact on a third matchup between these two teams?
Well, I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. But I don't know. The players decide the series. The coaches, we certainly guide them, and Chris is going to do that with his team. Those guys get out there, they make the difference. They've got the hard job. The coaches have the easy job. And so it'll probably be a little bit different. We've played them enough times, so they probably know our style, and we know their style. If there were any changes made between the staffs, it's not like it'll be the first time that we've played each other. But yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to see.
I know you didn't want to get into your goalie choice for game one the other night. Have you decided? Have you decided on it?
We're pretty sure. We're pretty sure. We've had conversations around it. And we're pretty sure. But it's not something. You can continue to ask. It's not something we're going to talk about, even though we've talked about it internally.
Okay, so then a broader one. If it is Cam for game one, what has he provided you and provided the team from day one?
Well, he's got a great personality. He's an outgoing guy. He's very confident. He's been in the league. He's accomplished so much in the league, and so you worry, coming in, what's he got left to play for? And right away, I was struck by his passion for the game. Obviously, he made his way to the All-Star game. So here's a guy kind of at the end of his career, still pushing and playing well enough to make the All-Star team. So he's a true pro, and he had a dip in his season, no question. But to be able to bounce out of that, I think speaks to his mental toughness. And I think it would have been harder for a younger goalie to do that. For him, he's got confidence. He's been through the wars, and he's just provided a real stable presence. Certainly since February forward, and we're all comfortable with that. He's got a lot of saves under his belt.
How do you like the fact that, okay, he obviously made a choice to sign here, he thought there would be an opportunity. How do you like the fact that there's obviously still plenty of compete in him, that he grabbed the job right away?
Yeah, well,
And ran with it.
right. That's the pro. He to your point, he saw the opportunity and came in and he took it. You know, Kops had played very well for us last year. Unfortunately, he got the injury, so somebody had to really fill that void, and he's done that. He's done that, and I think bouncing back from what was not a great part of the season for him really kind of solidified our respect for him as a pro.
Do you expect Carl Rush to be ready in the lineup?
I do. I expect him to be ready to go.
And looking at the lineup, I mean, you kind of changed things a little bit with Kevin Fiala playing with Lazat and Lewis. Some would look at that, you have one of your best offensive players playing with more or less bottom six players. So talk about what you like from that outlook.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say it like this. The two lines that have stayed relatively consistent over the last, is it 2 or 3 weeks, I don't know, are Phil's line and Liz's line. Yeah. So what Liz's line does really well is they forecheck. And they put the puck in, they get it, they cause chaos. And that's where Kevin's at his finest, is when he gets the puck touches in the O-zone. So we find he gets more puck touches himself to create opportunities in the O-zone when he's been with those guys lately. So that's a line that works for us. It's hard to contain. Now, if you saw Lath playing with Kopi and Juice. So now you got Doobie and Q together. So that presents a little bit of a problem for somebody too. So you're sitting there going, okay, this is your first, this is your second, this is your third, this is your fourth. But if you look at the ice times, especially at even strength, you're not really sure which is which. And that's the way we like it. We feel like we're four lines deep, and they can play at different times with different people. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's...
Is it time for Dubois to emerge here? He has had a good season. He's been underwhelming. His numbers aren't been great. Is it now still time for him?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his history, he's been a really strong playoff performer. And I went back and watched the series last year against Vegas. He played very, very well. Yeah, we're expecting big things. We're expecting him to be great. We're talking about the passion and the size and the energy and the physicality, all those things that kind of get increased in the playoffs. He has all those qualities, and we're expecting him to bring them.
Jim, with a young player like Alex Laferriere, do you have a conversation with him going into the playoffs, or is it, Fight Club rule?
Yeah, don't talk about Fight Club. We've talked to him at different times during the season. He's to be able to do what he's done as a first-year player, really with no expectations coming in. We didn't really expect him to make the team, be on the team. He's had a few dips. He's somebody that has understood what his role is. I think it's become clearer as the season's gone along. You first just want to play in the NHL and get some games, and all of a sudden you play long enough and you see where you fit, what you do well in the NHL, what we need from you. And he's got that sorted out pretty well, and that's why you can see him compliment, Kopi and Juice, if that's who he's playing with. So I don't think through the conversations through the year, I don't think there's a special conversation that has to happen with him. I think he gets it. I think he understands it pretty well.
Maybe one of the only guys who hasn't played in the playoffs so far. Most guys have not just played, but played in multiple series. That make the group more comfortable going into game one, knowing they mostly all know what to expect.
I think so. And we've talked about it, quite a bit. We've got some players that have won Stanley Cups. We've got Phil Deneau went to the finals. Arby went to the finals. So there's a lot of experience there, and nothing. It's not going to catch them off guard. What the playoffs look like.
How excited are you to get the endless string of 1-3-1 questions when you get to Edmonton?
No, and we'll talk about it maybe once or twice, I'm sure, but we're not going to talk about it continuously because, that's something that's part of our game. And Edmond does some things in the neutral zone. They do some things well. We're not going to talk about those. We're just going to do our thing and win hockey games.
But
When it
isn't
comes
it
down to
hard?
line combinations, would you have the same line combination starting if we're at home to start the series?
That's a good point because they do change based on home and roads and their matchups and all that kind of stuff. I think we're pretty comfortable where we're at, but don't hold me to anything because we'll change based on different things we see, and we like it. I mean, again, the ability for Laugh to be able to play up there and complement Kopi and Juice is that's in our favor. And so it gives us a little bit more flexibility.
Jim, you said you watched the Vegas series with Dubois. What did you like about his game in the playoffs that you saw?
He was really skating, and he took the puck to the net. He shot the puck. So I think he was probably a little more aggressive, a little simpler. When he crossed that blue line, the puck went to the net, and that's kind of playoff style hockey. Anyways, there's less room. So when you get an opportunity, you don't really want to pass him up, and he did that well in that Vegas series, really well.
Just one more, sorry to interrupt. Just what are your expectations for yourself, the feeling behind the bench for your first stand?
Yeah. I don't. It's going to be. I've been on the bench for a lot of playoff games. Certainly not as the head coach. Just excited. I mean, I've gone through the emotions of wow, your first playoff series. Just being on the bench and seeing how the level increases. That was you're a little nervous, and that's exciting. Now, I'm not going to be nervous. I'm going to be excited for the challenge that's in front of us. To be doing it with the group that we've had here, I think we've played pretty well, and yeah, we're going into it together, and I'm excited that that's who I'm going into it with. I can tell you
You
that.
said time and time again that the focus needs to be on what your team is doing and less adapting to what the other team's doing. That was regular season, different opponent every night. Now you've got a best of 7 series against the team with Connor McDavid. Is that still the mentality going into that series?
Yeah, I mean, he's if we talk about him, he's a great player. He's a hard guy to shut down. But if we do what we have to do, we can limit him. That's just what we have to do. We know what he does, and we know what he does well. So understand it, and then just do what we do well to counterbalance it. That's all. And he makes it hard on you. There's no question. But we have to do our job against him and the others. He's not just alone on that team, as we know. But it's not a special plan just for him.
DJ Smith, sorry, Fox. DJ Smith's first series up, obviously with you guys going behind the bench there. What has he continued to bring since the second he showed up, and now at a crucial time? What has he brought to the players?
No, I mean DJ is a very energetic person. I think everybody has met him or heard him, understand that. But he's a sharp hockey mind. He's complemented the coaching staff very well. He has his own experience, his own ideas that he's been able to share with us. He's actually going back to junior. He coached against Chris was the coach back in junior with Erie, and they had McDavid, some of the same players, Fogle. So he's played against them, even though it was junior. He's played against those guys and against the coach. So yeah, he's given us really, really valuable insight, and he's been a good part of the staff.
The turnout from the fans today and the energy in the building, does that translate at all to your players? Do you feel that today in practice?
Well, we had a really good practice, and actually talked to Kopi about that. I said, man, that was an energetic practice. And he pointed out that the stands were full. I didn't even think about it. Maybe that was the reason. I was hoping it was because we were just excited to get out there. But yeah, there were people in the stands, so there were cheers when a couple of nice goals went in. But I think we're pretty focused. I think without the fans today, I think the practice would have been very similar. It was businesslike. We were quick. You guys don't watch us every day, but I thought we were moving pretty well.
When you
Can I
hear
just
Edmonton
ask,
Oilers?
when you talked earlier about the energy and bringing that, you have a bunch of players who have had experience against the Oilers the last 2 series, but you're expecting different things from some of them, that their roles have changed. How exciting is that for you to look and see what kind of response they have, to these new responsibilities for a lot of these younger guys?
Yeah. Well, when you say the question, I think of Quentin. Last year he was getting his feet wet. He ended up on the line with Kopi and Juice, played in the playoffs. This year, he's elevated his game. So it's those kind of players that with the next challenge, they need to step up one more time. And I think, clearly he's a better player this year than he was last year with the experience. So that's something that can give us an advantage this year. I do believe that we have some growth in some of the younger players. Jordan Spence has got a whole season in. Yeah, so it's exciting. We know we can talk about individual players on our side and their side. It's going to take us as a collective. We know that. And I really like where we are as a collective. We're healthy. I think we're confident, and we're excited. And I think you're going to see a passionate hockey team.
On Quentin, a couple games ago, he said he needs to go to the net to score. And he did that in the last game, and he got paid. Right? So
You paid
now,
attention to that
do you
too?
need the
You
guy
and
who
him.
showed up against Chicago to play that style of game, lead the team in shots, et cetera?
Yeah, now there's going to be less room. We know that, so it's going to be tighter. It just is. It's the playoffs, but that I would take it back one step. He did all the things you mentioned, but from the first shift, and I know these guys talked about it too. From the very first shift, he was moving. He had some energy to him, and you could just see Quentin's going to have a good night tonight. I'm not sure if he's going to get his goals or his assists. He's going to have a good night. That's what we need. We need no more than that, and then we'll take it from there. And he's not alone. The other players the same way.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay?